probably heard of the new moon and the full moon, but have you heard of the quarter moon? In fact, there are 2 quarter moons every month, the first quarter and the last quarter moon. So we're talking about quarter moons, we're talking about astrology, moonology, we're doing cards, we're even taking a question from one of our podcast listeners. Everybody knows about the full moon because we see the full moon. Most people know about the new moon because if they follow the moon, they know that the new moon is time to set intentions. What people don't know is about the quarter moon. And this week we are getting a quarter moon. We're getting the first quarter moon in the sign of Libra. Now, the quarter moon is when the sun and the moon are at a hard angle to each other. They're actually 90 degrees apart. So they're making what's called a square to each other. So planets like aspect each other and they make different aspects and alignments to each other. This is a clash. Okay, so it comes about a week after the new moon. So we had the new moon about a week ago now, and although maybe not quite, depending on when you're listening to this in the week, but basically it's a time where whatever it is that you want to achieve for yourself, you can be tested on it, especially if you have made some new moon wishes. Things can come up now where you're not really sure, do I really still want that? Do I really believe I can have it? Do I think I can create it? Do I believe in my ability? Am I self-doubting too much? And so on. And I'll just make a really random aside here, but I've been watching on Netflix that show America's Sweethearts. Those of you who know me well know I'm quite fascinated with American culture for whatever reason. I know some people would joke and say there's no culture. Sorry about that, Americans. They make the same joke about Australia. That's probably mainly Europeans with thousands and thousands of years of culture. Anyway, I love American culture and I wanted to watch this show. It's about the DCC, the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. And, it's a very interesting show. You see these girls who sort of really want to be Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders and they doing all the auditions and the trials and then doing like a hell week sort of thing and just trying to get their place. And what you see is actually a lot about their doubting themselves or not believing in themselves. And the ones who really believe in themselves are the ones who tend to go the furthest. It's just the way it works. It's the law of attraction. And so when we come to this point in the lunar cycle, which is the first quarter moon after the new moon, we actually have a moment where we really need to believe in ourselves. We really need to believe that we are strong, we are resilient, we have what it takes, and so on. It's not a time to self-doubt. It's not a time to just give up unless you are really sure that you want to give up. It's a time where you will get tested and the universe wants to see how serious are you about doing whatever it is that you said you wanted to do at the time of the new moon. So this particular new moon is taking place in the sign of Libra, which is interesting for lots and lots of different reasons. One of which is that Libra is the sign of relationships. Okay, so if you feel that one of your most important one-to-one relationships is being really tested this week, that could be why, because when we get the first or last quarter moon in Libra, relationships are likely to come up. So what's actually happened is we had the sun and the moon in the same place at the same time, at the time of the new moon, and then the sun is going slower than the moon. The moon's going faster than the moon. So what's actually happened now is the moon is now clashing with the sun. So it's when we get challenges and we have to decide, are we willing to make the effort? And because it's in Libra, it can be relationship challenges. So just say, for example, your dream is not to become a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader. Maybe your dream is to open a healing center. Many of you I know would love to do something like that. And so this could be the week where, the bank says, no, you can't have the money, or the venue falls through, or 3 people out of your 10 people who are coming cancel, stuff like that. It's a time where there can be challenges, and it's really up to us to push through, okay? Sometimes you could almost see challenges as a way of the universe just checking in to see how much do we really want it. And why is that relationships? Because you might say, well, that doesn't sound very romantic, the bank saying no, but it's about then your relationship with the bank manager. Maybe you need to go back and speak to the bank manager and convince them of your worth. Or if it's your people who are coming to your workshop cancelling, maybe you haven't been nurturing the relationship. But it can also be just very much old-fashioned, husband and wife, husband and husband, wife and wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, 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 boyfriend, boy, whatever. neighbors, friends, siblings. It's about relationships, okay? So I thought I would take a little look at my Moonology manifestation cards because they have all the new moons, full moons, and quarter moons in there. So the first quarter moon in Libra, the card is actually keep your heart open. And it's really about not giving your power away as you move towards your goals. And one of the reasons for that is that the first quarter moon in Libra takes place when the sun is in Cancer. We're still celebrating our Cancerian friends' birthdays. And the moon is in Libra. And the first quarter moon knows that someone giving in can sometimes make things better. So if you need to give in, I'm not saying give up, but maybe if you're at loggerheads with someone, maybe it's a time to reach a compromise because Libra is all about compromises, okay? And just see how confident do you feel and should you be making a compromise? Also, just to say that it's going to be taking place on Saturday. So it can be a really good time to think through what you want to do. So, yeah, and also just remember that because that Libra energy is highlighted with the moon this month, it's very, this week, I should say, it's very much about harmony and balance, compromise, agreements, and seeing what you can do to feel balanced in your life as you head towards whatever it is that you want to do. The other thing that's really important in the Moonology this week is that this week's first quarter moon is actually clashing with the healing planetoid Chiron. Okay, so this can actually be a time where old relationship wounds are going to come up. So if you have a few old relationship wounds that you haven't dealt with yet, it may be that there are going to be situations this week that make you face up to whatever's been going on. Maybe it's a time when you might get closure on a relationship. It can be a time for reconciliation where you work through old wounds and you move towards healing between the two of you. It's really a time to talk things through. And again, just try and whatever it is you're going through, if it is romantic especially, or just, with your mum and dad or your sister or your brother or best friend or whatever, really try to find solutions that work for everyone because Libra knows how to compromise. And anything clashing with Chiron can be a bit painful. Chiron is the wounded healer of the zodiac, and sometimes it can be a little bit hard when Chiron is clashed with, and this quarter moon is clashing with Chiron. So also it's a good time to think of how much you are willing to put up with. How much are you willing to put up with? That's a really good question to ask yourself this week as well. So that really sums up the Moonology for the week ahead. Now let's take a look at the astrology for the week ahead. In the astrology this week, what we have is Jupiter harmonizing with the lunar nodes, okay? The nodes are in Libra and Aries right now, and Jupiter is in Gemini. So it's making a harmonious link to both of them. And so what does this mean when we get Jupiter and the nodes harmonizing? So on the one hand, you could say it's going to make it easier to do all the south node stuff. The nodes, by the way, are invisible points in the skies, which are based on the orbit of the moon around the Earth as the Earth goes around the ecliptic. Yes, on the one hand, it's a really good time to be moving away from something which is really comfortable but is not challenging you to grow. Okay, it's a time to really think about what has passed its use-by date in your life. What do you need to release? What are you just hanging on to because you know it, it's comfortable, but it's not actually good for you, okay? Because there comes a point in everybody's life when they outgrow it. And the South Node is really about where we get stuck, and where we're clinging on for grim death. And then with the North Node, Jupiter will also be harmonizing with the North Node. That's actually the part of our chart which is all about chasing our dreams and doing the thing that makes us feel uncomfortable, pushing out of our comfort zone and really deciding, what, I'm going to do this thing and I'm going to do it now. It's a really kind of action-packed week in that respect. I just want to mention as well, by the way, if you love moonology and astrology and keeping abreast about all this information, I have my new Moonology diary coming out this month. It's coming out at the end of July, and I would love it if you would pre-order a copy if you're interested. It's gorgeous. It's all blue this year. Sorry, I'm just trying to show you on camera what it looks like. If you're listening on the podcast, I'm trying to flick through. There's information about every new moon and every full moon, all kind of information I'm giving you here, more in depth, and also, really importantly, lots of places to write down your wishes, write down your forgiveness lists, and so on. So if you would like all this information at your fingertips and ahead of time as well, so you don't have to wait to try and catch the podcast or whatever, go to moonmessages.com/my diary. moonmessages.com/my diary. We have tons of special bonuses when you sign up. And if you order it before the end of July when it's published, you'll get access to my mid-year refresh workshop, which is going to tell you all about the astrology of the second half of the year. So, yeah, the nodes is a really big deal this month, and something really to be aware of. This week, I should say, the nodes are a really big deal this week and something to be really aware of. We also have some other sort of more minor astrology happening. We have, firstly, we have Venus harmonizing with Uranus, which is absolutely lovely if you want a big turnaround to do with love or money. That's on the 8th of July. Also, July 8th, we have Mercury harmonizing with Jupiter. So the 7th and 8th in particular are really good for all these difficult conversations that we have to have. The Jupiter nodes alignment is on July 9, and then nothing much on July 10. July 11, we do get some big astrology action. Very much a time to be heading slowly and steady towards your dreams as Sun and Saturn come together, and more romance as well on actually July 10 and July 11, and then even some passion on July 12. So I did say I would do a question this week, and I'm going to do one from Dave, who's asked me regarding the 3-card spread and the different phases of the moon. When doing a particular phase spread, is that the only cards that are used or still the full deck? Now, this is a really interesting question that I would never have thought anybody would even wonder. But yes, the answer is yes, you just use those 3 cards. So what people do is they tend to do, if they do a 3-card spread, they will do it for past, present, and future. Okay, past, present, and future. But if you wanted to apply the phases of the moon there, you could actually do the the waxing moon, the full moon, and the waning moon. And you could sort of interpret it like that if you wanted to. I've never done that, but I'm sure you could do that. But the short answer is yes, you just take those 3 cards. So you take 1 for card 1, 2 from card 2, and by the way, they can be from anywhere in the deck, 3. And then you would have your 3 cards, and these would be your past, your present, and your future. And you just set the rest of the deck aside. That's fine. You don't have to use all the cards in the deck every question. I hope I'm answering this question correctly. But yeah, that when you do the 3-card spread, past, present, and future is the way I do it, and most people do it. And the rest of the cards just sit there quietly while you do your reading. So I hope that helps you understand the answer to your question. So I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make the most of this first quarter moon in Libra this week, and I will speak to you next week. Thanks for listening.